Hello and welcome back to the Go for Two podcast. I'm Liam, your host, and we are back for episode 299, which is our AFC East preview. And that means our NFC East preview will be our 300th episode. And to join me to talk AFC East and then hopefully NFC East next time is, of course, Mr. Muggs NFL. Patrick, mate, how are you doing as we head towards Magic 300?
Yeah, very excited. Can't believe that. 300 episodes. I do want to point out, it's a landmark that we should be talking about the Super Bowl champions on number 300. But
Exactly.
Also, today's episode, you didn't actually mention off it that I have actually got a Miami Heat cap on today, and that is in no way an affiliation with the Miami Dolphins that is in this episode, as you may find out in about 20 minutes.
As I say, we're getting some bias there, but maybe not. Maybe you're trying to make Miami fans feel better before you break their hearts in the minute.
Bias, yeah.
Yeah, with your analysis, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, episode 300. How many Super Bowls have the Eagles got? 3 or 2?
Super Bowl wins? 2.
Yeah. 300. I was thinking it could be 3 when we're talking about them. Hopefully, it's not 3 this year, but
hopefully it is. But we'll see. We'll discuss that next week.
We will. Yeah, like I said, we're here for our last AFC preview, AFC East. I informed Patrick before, but he already knew. He was organised. We have 5 teams each in the playoffs so far, and obviously we have different division winners. My 5 teams in the playoffs are the Jags and Texans, because we love the AFC South, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bengals, the Ravens, and I think yours are the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Texans, Ravens, and Bengals.
Correct. Sounds pretty good to me.
And then we've got 2 spots. And I will give us a chance at the end of the episode if we want to swap anyone out before our final picks. But I'm going to stay true to the AFC South. I can't turn my back on the boys just yet. But again, we're not going to go through any major news. We want to keep these to divisions. The only news we all care about is have you managed to get rid of your college football ticket yet?
It's gone.
Wow.
Gone to a Kansas State fan coming over, so this is good. That's good news.
Oh, that's cool. That's very, very cool. You have to give away for free, or did you get something back? We don't need to talk.
No. I got a good amount for it. He was very nice guy, actually. Brave man who booked his ticket to Dublin before getting a ticket. But, there's always going to be tickets flying around, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that is brave, actually. Yeah, it wouldn't have been cheap at this time of year either to get a flight.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll see how that goes, and we will see how the AFC East goes. We're going to talk about the division in order, like we always do, where they finish. So we're going to go Bills, Dolphins. I've got the Dolphins were second. Jets, Patriots. Dolphins had 8 wins as well, which surprised me. We're going to talk about key additions, coaching staff changes, their win total, their strength of schedule, reasons or reason to believe in them, and then the same for reasons not to believe in them. And at the end, we're going to go through. We'll go for our win totals as well, and then go through division order and how many teams make the playoffs. Spoiler, we have to have 2 teams, so we're probably both going to have 2 teams, and we'll see which 2 teams that they are. But we'll start with my rival Bills. In terms of key additions on offense, Josh Palmer was the wide receiver they went for. They haven't officially added this guy yet, but Gabe Davis is in the building as we speak. Ex-Bill trying to come back. They added Elijah Moore and Laviska Shenault. They're trying to get some slot wide receiver to turn out on the roster. And then Kendrick Green was a backup guard that they've added in the offseason. On defense, Joey Bosa was probably the biggest addition, trying to give him a run in the playoffs. Tre'Davious White as well has come back. Obviously a bit of a legend for the Bills. He's come back. Unfortunately, he's already injured. Dane Jackson, the corner, is a good addition for them in the secondary. And then in the draft, they added loads of defenders. So I'll only name a couple, but Maxwell Hairston, Landon Jackson, TJ Sanders all got added in the draft. So the Bills went heavy on defense. The coaching staff is exactly the same as it was last season. Joe Brady is I think it's his 2nd year as the offensive coordinator, 3rd year in the franchise. Their strength of schedule is 5th in the NFL, so it's 5th easiest, partly because of the division they play in. And their win total is 11.5 wins. So they are up there with definitely the Chiefs, Eagles, I think, and the Bills. I don't know if there's another team, but all up there with 11.5 wins. And like I said, very easy schedule. So I feel like we're the same every year with this team, mate, in terms of the Bills. We normally both like them to some differing degree. They normally have 1 or 2 moves in the off-season that is the all-in moves, and they're normally on defense. And they've gone from Von Miller now to both add a lot of players in the draft. But before we go to reasons to believe in them and to not believe in them, how are you feeling in general about their off season? Right, they're good every year, but they've got to do those fine little tunings, I guess, every off season.
Yeah, and he always come in, I suppose, a little bit underwhelmed. I think Von Miller at the time felt the most exciting and was probably the most underwhelming of the kind of the names that they've added in. But yeah, it's always the same fine tweaking. But I think they could have done more, especially on the defensive side, especially in the secondary. I'm not particularly overtly excited about them. I didn't know Big Game Gabe was back in the building. Do you remember the Chiefs game, obviously, where the Chiefs came back with 13 seconds left or whatever? Everyone was hyped on Gabe Davis after that game, wasn't it? And that was probably his last good game in the NFL. But
he got a big contract, didn't he? Right after that, he got that big deal in Jacksonville.
He did, yeah, he did. He got a really, really big deal. He's kind of been floating since then, hasn't he? But yeah, feels like a much of a much, doesn't it, for Buffalo again?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, they're trying to get over that hump. Let's talk about reasons to believe in them then. Why don't you kick us off, mate? What are your main reasons on your notes for them?
Well, I mean, what I've just said, I'm going to kind of flip it on its head a little bit and make it a bit more positive. That they're bringing back over 80% of the roster that won 13 games last season. All the continuity with the coaches. You're bringing back the MVP. You're bringing back all the players that made your team win 13 games last season. For me, the division is not great again this year. They've been lucky, I think, in the past 3 years that you've had incremental gains on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
So in your division, that's absolutely fine. It's when they then got to the divisionals and the conference championships where those kind of additions haven't helped, right? But for me, the continuity on the roster is enough to win the division. Probably enough to get you the 1 seed, which is so important. Obviously, we always discuss every year in the AFC. For me, with Allen, with his development again, feels enough right now. Signed James Cook to a good deal, good deal for him. We can discuss whether that's a good deal overall, but the continuity for me, bringing back Joe Brady as well, feels like a win-win to me for Buffalo, and they're going to be in the Final Four of the AFC. I feel like you can pencil that in right now.
Yeah, it feels like that every year, doesn't it? I didn't actually know that stat about what was the percent you said returning stars? It was quite high.
80% of the roster turned over.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a hell of a number. That surprises me, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of my reasons to believe in them, some of them are very similar. Obviously, there's just so much continuity on the coaching staff and in the scheme in terms of defensive play caller, offensive play caller, and obviously the quarterback. Right? I don't know. Everyone's different on him in terms of where he sits in the hierarchy of the NFL. Is he 1? Is he 2? Is he 3 or 4? But he's somewhere in there. I think he's an incredible player, and as we spoke about a lot, especially come playoff time, I'm one of these people that does believe the quarterback really is the engine. Like, I don't see many good teams get that far without an elite or a very good quarterback. I think Josh Allen is that guy. I don't fully believe in the defense because obviously Bosa's injury prone, Dane Jackson's injury prone, and some of the other guys are young, but they've thrown a lot of resources at it. So I think you'd be disappointed if you're them if half of them don't improve you. Yeah, okay, you can nail all those moves, probably not. But I think for me, the defense should be better in some regard. And I think Josh Allen, they've gone down this, maybe not this year's Chiefs where they spent some money, but they've gone down that path of we'll let the quarterback solve the problems. We won't go and trade for elite wide receivers. We won't go sign elite guards in free agency. We'll just draft on defense, spend money on defense, and let the quarterback figure it out. And I just think both sides of the ball for me probably should be a little bit stronger, I think, this season. And obviously the schedule being the 5th easiest in the NFL and having an easier division, I think, compared to the Ravens and the Chiefs and maybe even the Texans. I think there's an argument there. I think the Bills are in a prime position to win a lot of games.
Yeah, can I tell you one aspect where I think they've been slightly lucky? Because obviously they've added in on wide receiver. Josh Palmer could turn out to be quite an astute free agency signing, but the emergence of Khalil Shakir, by the way, feels quite lucky getting him in the 5th round. He didn't really show a lot for 2 years, but last year a real breakout season, and that kind of masks up what maybe Keon Coleman hasn't shown. Maybe he can have a breakout, but it feels like they kind of looked into somehow getting a third year wide receiver, and he kind of came out of nowhere, really, didn't he? He was absolutely awesome. I see that. I'd expect that to continue and to improve with Allen with an off season. So yeah, that feels an aspect that makes him slightly more dangerous, I think, this season. I'm interested to see Palmer, actually. He's kind of a middling kind of guy, middling pack of the NFL, but I think Allen will get some good yardage out of him.
Yeah, we didn't love the draft pick, the signing either when they made it. But because he's very similar to the other players, but talks in camp are they're kind of using him all over the place. And yeah, he is similar to Coleman, but he's kind of just taken some of Coleman's reps. So I think if you're them, if it leads to a better offense, I think maybe it is worthwhile because he got the second biggest wide receiver contract out of anyone in free agency. So they're obviously wanting him to do well. But yeah, all the talk out of camp is that he's having a very, very good camp. So we'll see. But yeah, I think maybe that was one that I particularly didn't like the signing. But as time's gone on, I think I was probably initially looked like maybe I'm going to be wrong and that he's going to be a good player for them. And obviously they've got that Cook deal done now as well in the backfield, like you said, which makes a big difference. Any other reasons you want to mention to believe in them? Any other things that make you confident in them?
You're always starting the season healthy on defense, right? Which is also, the secondary, if you remember, that towards the end of last season was absolutely shredded, wasn't it? So it's just like starting from kind of where everyone else is, starting from decent health is. If Buffalo can keep that and just have league average, sneak above a league average, they can win the Super Bowl for sure with that offense and with Josh Allen. It's just keeping everyone healthy, right? It's going to be so important.
Yeah, 100%. And Josh Allen obviously be trying to go for another MVP year. You would imagine in his books. That's what he's going to be aiming for. Cool. Let's go to reasons then, maybe not to believe in them. What jumped out to you when you looked at the roster and the situation of the team? Because yeah, it's definitely not schedule and it's definitely not quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Mine is the secondary. I know they've had a Tre'Davious White. Secondary still doesn't not enamored by. I do like Taron Johnson, but overall, Christian Benford came. He came through, didn't he, last year? And that's another kind of 6th-round pick that's now a starter. But I feel like in terms of the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, I don't think that they can contain them late into January. That would be my issue. And then moving that forward, you want then your pass rush to be able to make that up. But it's like you've got mate, I just don't get the Joey Bosa signing. He's a great player. What an athlete he is. He just cannot stay healthy, can he, at all? He's not a healthy athlete at all. And it just feels like you could have done something else in that. That worries me. There's no way that Joey Bosa plays anywhere near 20 games this season, which is what you need to get deep into the playoffs. That's just sounds ridiculous just saying it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think what's the best they can hope for is that he's healthy towards the end of the year, isn't it? That's really the best, I think, so we can play in the playoffs. Because if we get into week 8 and we're like, oh wow, Bosa's played 8 games in a row, part of you would be like, I'll be worried it's coming then. Do you know what I mean? If you're him, if I'm them, I'm almost careful with his snaps and really try and get him going for the playoffs. So yeah. And it was expensive, right? Compared to what, I don't know if it was a 1 year, but it was more in cash than maybe people thought he was going to get. I think for me, it's probably still the secondary. You got Maxwell Hairston there. They traded the other 1st-round pick. I forgot his name. That didn't work out. Kyra Elam. They're still quite young on there. They've got obviously some safeties that are on the older side. They paid a couple of the guys that I think are very good players, but it's just like historically, the reasons the Bills have struggled is defense is a little bit up and down. For everyone, defense isn't very consistent. And if you watch the last year's playoffs, the offense was doing all it could in that game to get them through to the Super Bowl, but the defense just couldn't get a stop, even though there was loads of assets spent. So for me, I think it's Yeah, they need a couple of these moves to work. Like Trey White's already injured. Joey Bosa got injured earlier in the season, in the preseason. They got 5 players that are going to play a lot of snaps on defense from the draft. So, yeah, if the defense is a top 10, 12 unit, they got all the talent in the world to win a Super Bowl. But if the offense is number 1 and the defense is number 20, I just think against Jackson, Burrow, or Mahomes in the playoffs, it could be a bit of a struggle. And that's what we're judging them off, right? It's getting to a Super Bowl. It's not making the playoffs like it is for some teams.
It's time now, isn't it? I think, what is it? Is it year 8 for Josh Allen? I think I read the other day. It was like,
yeah, it'd be 8 or 9 probably with Mahomes. Yeah, thinking about his age compared to Mahomes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's now or it's not now or never, of course. But you got Lamar as well who wants to go to the Super Bowl, so it's so tough. But I actually forgot before I got the depth chart up earlier. They've got 3 rookies, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round on the defensive line, haven't they? So important that at least one of those becomes a starter by the end of the season, and the other 2 are playing meaningful snaps, right? Because otherwise, then your rotation again in the playoffs is going to be lacking, isn't it?
Yeah, I think especially for me off the edge, that's going to be important for them. And yeah, the rotation. If people stay healthy as well, right? They paid Ed Oliver, like I said earlier, they paid Bosa, they paid Bernard. Like those guys need to stay healthy. They've all had injury woes in the last 2 years, so we'll see. Cool. Any other reasons for them, or should we move on to our next team?
Now let's go on. What was it? 11 and a half?
Yeah, win total. Yeah, 11 and a half. What do you think?
I'm going over. I've just had a quick flick through this schedule, and Bills Eagles, by the way, in Buffalo is the penultimate game of the regular season, penultimate week of the regular season. That's a tough game, given the Eagles have got an absolutely horrific schedule.
Yeah. What do you think their ceiling, for going back to the Bills, what do you think their ceiling is like for wins? Could they be a 15 type win team, or do you think with some of their older players it'll be a bit more of a, try and just get into the playoffs and go from there? Or do you think they're going to be doing all they can to get the 1 seed?
For me, you're looking at the Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, and Eagles games. The rest, Buffalo are going to want to win those games. So it feels like 13 wins could be very achievable, like last season. Beat a couple of those teams, and you're talking 15. So it feels fair to go, in the 14 range for Buffalo. That's going to be real close to the 1 seed.
Yeah, they always beat the Chiefs, by the way, in the regular season, so I'd count that as a win. Early on. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're going to be going for the 1 seed for sure, especially with their schedule, like I mentioned, compared to those other good teams. Cool. Right, we're both over 11 and a half then for our first team. Onto the Dolphins, a team I forgot finished second in the division last year. On offense, they had a James Daniels, Daniel Brunskill in the offensive line in free agency. They re-signed or traded for, technically, Darren Waller, which is an absolute blast from the past. In the draft, they added Jonas Savaiinaea, a player they traded up for to try and start at guard. They also added Ollie Gordon and then Quinn Ewers as well, who's was supposed to be like a top 5 pick like 3 years ago, but didn't quite work out that for him. Again, similar to the Bills, it's the same staff. It's another year for both OC and DC in their first year second year in those roles. Their strength of schedule is 9th in the NFL, so also relatively good. And their win total is 8.5. So yeah, just under the 9 mark there. I think they got maybe 9. Was it 8 or 9 wins last year? But they got somewhere in that range. I think I know which way you're going with this team, but we will stay positive in reasons to believe in them. I think for me, I still think there's some top tier talent. I actually completely ignored the defense, by the way. Sorry. Minkah Fitzpatrick was the big trade there. Willie Gay, Mike Hilton, Matt Judon, and then Kenneth Grant, a player in the draft that we raved about on this pod. So I missed the defense. But top tier talent wise, speaking of the defense, the players I think are still there in terms of Jalen Phillips, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. I think they're still very, very good. And I still think the scheme in the pass game can be good. I know last year was a little bit up and down, but I think there's still reasons to be hopeful there in Mike McDaniel plus those star players. And I think they've got a lot to prove as well. So I think they are going to be a motivated team. A lot of their stars didn't play very well last year, and all they came off injuries. So I think for me, there's some positivity there in those regards. I don't know if you had anything similar or anything different in terms of.
Yeah, similar in terms of when you've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devon Achane, it's explosive, right? When it clicks, that's explosive. And like we saw 2 seasons ago, they could score in a heartbeat. There was, through record numbers through a kind of like 10, 12 weeks, wasn't it? But it's just sustaining that. But I think when you have got those elite weapons and you can get them to click, you're always going to pile the points on and kind of look good earlier on in the season. The one thing that would kind of also sway me to believe that if the offense does click, there is enough talent on defense to win kind of. I don't think they're going to win, grind it out games, Miami. If they put up some points, they're going to be able to win some kind of high scoring games. There's enough talent on defense. It's a big churn over, actually. If you kind of look, there's not a lot of spots on that defensive starter roster that's going to be the same as it was last season, right?
No,
By the end of the season, especially. So it's going to be an interesting churn over. But maybe my negatives will come, but still think there's some really good talent on the offense and the defensive side.
I don't want to go into negatives yet. Where are you on Mike McDaniel? Is he a positive for you, or are we drifting away from that on that one?
No. You know my feelings about Mike McDaniel. I would not. I was very surprised he kept his job. I think he'd be a perfect offensive coordinator for somebody. He clearly, like we saw 2 years ago when it was clicking, it clearly can kind of get that passing game, especially. Even the Dolphins' run game has been really, really good at times when they had the Raheem Mostert as well as Achane. But so offensive kind of guru-wise, yeah. Head coach-wise, no, not at all. I don't like his decision-making, and I don't like the way his teams look going on into the season.
Yeah, I'm a bit unsure as well, and I, think we had him as we'll do it in our mega predictions episode. But first coach fired, he's definitely probably going to be one of the options we're considering. DC Anthony Weaver, though, coach, I think did well with less last year. Probably going to do well with less again this year. I think he's a good play caller, and I think the defensive side of the ball is definitely going to have explosive plays against it. But I think there'll be some games where up front they can cause people some trouble. And I think some of that's the players, some of that's him. So I know we might be a bit down on McDaniel, but I think Weaver potentially is a really good coach. But yeah, big year for the Dolphins. Let's talk about reasons not to believe in them then. Why don't you go first? Give us some of the reasons that are at the top of your mind for this team.
Unfortunately, it's hell. It's all things that feel not measurable in terms of health. You can't measure health. The things that I've seen about without Tyreek in this offense, I think it suffers. We saw that last season when he was out for a few games. I've not liked the things I've heard that have been said about him this off season. I'm very surprised he's still there, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
We're really, really surprised. I think he's obviously a very interesting character, but he's still got a lot to offer, in my opinion, to the NFL. And I'm not liking kind of the things that I'm hearing about him in kind of like his attitude and things like he's got to work his way back into the team and things like that. I feel all that kind of talk in an off season, those teams never make the playoffs. I'm going to tell you that now. When your starting quarterback comes out and talks about your star wide receiver, like, oh, he needs to come and suck up to us to get back in with the crew and to be the wide receiver one again, I just think, for me, your head coach shuts this down. Like a really strong head coach shuts this down. You either ship him out or you have him in your team, right, and say, this is still Tyreek Hill that we've got here. He's still so explosive in the NFL. Like I said, the things that you can't measure about sports all feel wrong with the Miami Dolphins, and that is what worries me the most. Like, the talent is still there, but just I don't like the way that in the second half of the season they can never win a game. apart from if it's in Miami and the weather's still nice. I mean, if they're going on the road to somewhere cold in December, they're going to get beat.
Yeah.
If it's the Jets, the Patriots, whoever, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, those things that you can't measure like that. I just don't like the heart and soul of the team, I think I would say. And just maybe, because obviously he is a good DC and he's got more talent this year to play with, maybe that can be a little bit kind of like tougher on defense and tighten up in that way, but not sure overall, to be honest.
Yeah, they still need some health luck on that side of the ball with Phillips and Judon and Minka, all these players. So we'll see. I know we talk about the Eagles and Chiefs a lot, so I'm trying not to overdo that. But there is a lot of talk in the background of 3 different pods I've heard this in the last probably 6 weeks have been like, if they have a bad start to the season, he might get traded back to Kansas City and retire as a Chief. But I'm not saying I'd want that, but it's just weird that I've heard like I can't remember who it was now. It was one of the main podcasts that I listened to, whether it was The Athletic or what, one of the Chiefs shows like mentioned it. One of those guys really doesn't like him for off-field reasons and said that's what he's hearing. Albert Bria mentioned it. It was one of the people. So we'll see. But yeah, you're right. It's been a weird off-season for him. Him and Tua have definitely fallen out. That clip went viral where he was talking about Ollie Gordon being the third down and short yardage back because Achan can't do it. And then Mike McDaniel was like, I don't know why he said that, because an hour before we were repping that in practice. So all he's doing is telling you what we did at practice, which you all watched. So he's like, I have no idea why he'd come to the podium and call that out. So there's just a weird vibe with them. I think McDaniel's on his last legs. I think the DC. I think the GM's probably on his last legs as well, for me. And then in terms of talent, since we're doing the podcast, I think both of us, but definitely me, has constantly said every year the offensive line is awful. For a quarterback that's not the most mobile, is injury prone, has had some major injuries, hip and head, in his career. I think the offensive line's worse again this year than it was last year, which is a big worry for me. And then the cornerback room, there's an article in The Athletic a few weeks ago that said Cato, I think, was their veteran leader in the cornerback room, and he's age 26. Now he's out for the season. And they've had to sign Mike Hilton. They've had to sign, I can't remember who the other guy is now they've signed, but Kendall Sheffield, all these players that couldn't latch on anywhere. Just feels like to me, secondary's going to give up a lot of big plays. Offensive line is not going to protect Tua and the running backs in the run game. And I think those combined to me could lead to some nasty games if you're a Dolphins fan, especially October onwards, probably, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously we not really spoke about this, but you hope for Tua to just be as healthy as possible, right? And let's see what he can kind of do in a full 17 games in kind of 2025. Because what I've been seeing about Zach Wilson, he looks like Zach Wilson during I don't like the preseason, but he's not.
What about Quinn? Big Quinn from Texas. What's he going to do? Can he be the guy?
Well, I think so, mate. Unfortunately, apparently I think he was like 5 of 18 in his first preseason game. But there's always hope, right? But for me, Miami feels on a downward trajectory of the last 3 years, and feels like maybe a bit more of a bottoming out season coming.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. One random point for me: Matt Judon, very good player. I just don't know why he signed here. I think he surely has to be a ring kind of chaser, win a Super Bowl. Probably just signed there because of where the team's located, unfortunately. But I just don't. Feels like a weird one to me. But they got some good pass rushers at least. Very negative end there. So I think we know where this is going. But win total. I don't mind going first. I've gone under 8.5. I heard someone mention them as a sneaky playoff contender for the wild cards, but no, I'm under 8.5, and I think if you told me it was 7 or 7.5, I would still go under. So, yeah, I'm way under for the Dolphins. Probably the team that might come back to bite me.
Yeah, I'm going under. Well, I did say to you earlier, I kind of looked at my 7th seed in the AFC, and maybe if things went awry for a couple of other teams, they could be there. The schedule, like you said, is read out. I'm having a look at it now. It starts Colts and Patriots before they go to Buffalo. I mean, already if you're trying to make the playoffs, you kind of have to win both games, right? Before the temperature turns down, and then you're in big trouble. But I'm going under. sure.
Yeah. So we're under on Dolphins and we're over on Bills so far. We're aligned. Let's move on to the next team then, the New York Jets, who've had a lot of change actually across the offseason. So in terms of key additions on personnel, so offense, Justin Fields comes in as their quarterback. Josh Reynolds, who I think is quite an underrated wide receiver, comes in. Josh Myers has come in as a backup offensive lineman. And then in the draft, Armin Membu, player that I absolutely love, come in to play. It's going to be right tackle, but he can play right or left. And then Mason Taylor, tight end as well from LSU, players getting loads of buzz in camp. On defense, they spent some money. So Andre Cisco came in as a big addition for them. Brandon Stevens came in. They just traded for Harrison Phillips, who also looks like their GM, which is quite funny. Harrison Phillips is a good nose in the NFL. And in the draft, they added Azare Thomas, who's apparently playing extremely well in camp. And then not additions, but they did pay massive deals to Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner as well, which is important for the Jets because a lot of star players have not stayed in New Jersey for them. So I'm glad to see that. They are the opposite to the first two teams. They've got a complete new head coach, complete new coach and staff. Aaron Glenn is in as the head coach, ex-player for them, comes in from Detroit. He is going to call the defensive plays. He's a defensive first guy, but it seems like a really good leader as well from early press conferences. Tanner Aikstrand, I think is how you pronounce it, is the offensive coordinator coming over from the Lions. He's got a good relationship with Glenn. And then Steve Wilkes, ex-head coach of the Cardinals, coming in as DC. Again, he's probably not going to call the plays. Glenn did say that could fluctuate and certain people could call certain scenarios, but he's a very experienced person to have on your coaching staff. I think makes sense with a new head coach. Their win total is 5.5, and their strength of schedule is 16th. So it's bang in the middle of the league. It's the hardest actually in the division. And yeah, it's another year of change. But I don't know about you. I'm feeling quite positive about the Jets, whether it's for this season or not. Getting rid of Rodgers, Aaron Glenn, paying those two young guys that I think are really, really good. Love the draft picks. Before we get on to believing them or not, I think I'm feeling much more positive than I was 18 months ago about this team.
Yeah, loads more positive, and I think you'll probably find in the stands and just in New York in general, because obviously they love talking sports there, that optimism will be much more heralded without Aaron Rodgers now, right? Just obviously, if he never got injured, it would have been different because he had his electric opening when he came in running with a flag and whatnot. But just everything went south from there. And I just think the feel-good factor around the Jets feels they got a lot of young talent, right? They got a lot of draft picks. They got Fields, a quarterback. I mean, we can talk about that, but you can kind of buy it. As a fan, I could buy into all of what the Jets were selling, that we were going to be incrementally better, right?
Yeah. I mean, you like Fields as well, which I don't think the average NFL fan or person who speaks loves Fields, but I think me and you both like him. I'm really hoping, I don't know if it was a 1 or 2 year deal, I can't remember, but I'm really hoping that he is their quarterback for at least the next couple of years. I would love a Baker Mayfield-esque. It'd be different, right? He's not going to throw 40 touchdowns. He's probably going to run 10, throw 20. But I would love that sort of, where they're like, okay, or Geno Smith, where he's like, he's going to get that contract. He's going to be a starter for 3 years. I think he deserves it. I think he was treated unfairly in Pittsburgh. So I think it makes them more exciting. Let's talk about reasons to believe in them then. I briefly touched on it. Every head coach is a bit of a lottery when it's their first time. But, I think on paper and on the face of it so far, I love Aaron Glenn's attitude. I love all the press conferences he's had. I like the atmosphere around the team. Obviously, we both liked him as a defensive coordinator. So I think the defense will have a better play caller than they did last year. So I think that's a reason to believe. I like the fact that they've done so well in the draft. I like all three of their first 3-round picks. And I think their offensive line has a chance to be very, very good. So if they can run the ball with Fields, with the running backs, there's a bit of a talk about Breece Hall, could be up for trade. We'll see. But yeah, I think the offense could be electric on the ground. Passing game just needs to get to average. And then I think Aaron Glenn can coach up a good defense. So again, this is year one of probably a 2 or 3 year window of them getting better each year. But I think, there's some optimism there from me.
Yeah, for me, I'm going the same. If you're combining Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes obviously was a head coach with the defensive line, right? You got Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson. Like you said, there's son Harrison Phillips, a good nose tackle. But for me, that's a lot of talent. And then on the back end, obviously, you've still got Tony Adams, Sauce, and Michael Carter and Cisco. It's a great, really have a great linebacker as well, Quincy Williams. That's a great defense.
Great linebacker, yeah.
It's a great defense, great defensive coordinator, defensive-minded head coach. Feels to me that is what I could buy as a fan, that we're going to be a hard-nosed team and we're going to be difficult to beat in the first year of a rebuild. And I would love that after, all of these years of kind of false hope with Zach Wilson was a super high draft pick. Then obviously the Rodgers thing just kind of the bottom fell out. For me, yeah, I'd be buying the defense totally.
Yeah, me too. And I'm buying the run game, but I'm a bit concerned about the fact there seems to be these very sore rumors. And we'll see. But Brain Allen's had a good camp. Everyone keeps saying the offensive line looks great from a run perspective and passing. So I think you can buy the defense, you can buy the culture, hopefully, and you can probably buy the run game. And then, is the passing game going to be great? Probably not. But all those things should add to a team that is better than it's been in the last 2 years and probably more fun to support because you're kind of like, right, even if Fields isn't the guy, if we just trade up at the right time for the right guy and the guy is Fields-esque in terms of he can run, he can pass, he's a bit like Drake May, he can run, he can pass. Then if you're them, you're like, everything else is kind of there. We've got our linebacker of the future, we've got our defensive tackle, we've got our wide receiver 1, our corner 1. I think you're in a positive position if you're them. And I haven't heard the fans be too positive, by the way, because that's a very Jets thing, where they're all of a sudden like, the top 5 team in the NFL like they were with Rodgers. I think fans are quite cautiously optimistic, but not jumping ahead, which is good.
I think you'll find that's probably the Aaron Rodgers effect. And he's beating you down. You wait, fast forward 12 months, and we're talking about Pittsburgh. They'll be completely beaten down and would love a 500 season.
Yeah, it's the culture vampire there for them. And again, schedule is 16, so it is the hardest in this division, but it's fine. They haven't got a super hard schedule as well, so there's some games they can definitely win. What about reasons not to believe in them? I think me and you are slightly different because Justin Fields would be the first name on a lot of people's lips here, whereas I know we like him more. What was the main reasons for you where you had concerns over this team?
It would be concerns over. We're going to talk about. I don't see Justin Fields as a reason to not believe. However, my reason to not believe is about Justin Fields and the passing game in general, in terms of being behind in football games. If you find yourself down a touchdown, down double digits, where can you get gains in the passing game then? Downfield passing. If you can stay ahead with the run game, with the start defense, I think that this team can actually win quite a few games, but it's the passing from behind that I'm really worried about with kind of Justin Fields. They're saying he's got a good connection with Garrett Wilson in camp, which is obviously an absolutely great thing, what you need as a Jets fan. But overall, I'm worried about them being behind in games and Fields having to chase it with his arm.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with you in terms of the passing game. I felt like they could have done a little bit more to get another weapon in there. Whether that's in the draft, whether that's trade, whether that's a free agent, like a Josh Palmer would have been perfect, for example. A wide receiver 2 that is not as good as Garrett Wilson, but is steady. I feel like they haven't really got that. Alan Lazard's still kicking around on the depth chart, and I think you need the right type of players to help boost Fields, and I don't think that's quite it. I think for me, I worded it as more as wide receiver 2/3. I think they're missing out on both those positions, which means it's great in camp for Mason Taylor because apparently Mason Taylor's getting all sorts of targets and he looks really good. So you think it'll be probably Garrett Wilson as your wide receiver 1, probably your running backs, check downs as your next biggest target, and then Mason Taylor. And that could probably work. It's just Justin Fields hasn't thrown to tight ends a lot in his career, so we hope that changes. But for me, it was more wide receiver 2. I was a bit concerned with. I also had defensive tackle depth. originally, and then they traded for Phillips, like I said, kind of out of nowhere, which I thought was a really good addition. They actually traded for another player as well. Can't remember who it was now, more of a backup type player, a 7th-round pick. So they've addressed that because I was a little bit worried about that. And then for me, my only other one was the offensive coordinator. Again, don't know enough about him. Comes with good recommendations. Wasn't picked as the OC in Detroit, but was that because Glenn had already poached him? Yeah, I just don't know enough about. So it's a bit of a could be good, could not be good. Let's see how he works with Justin Fields. But I know in preseason it hasn't been ideal. So I think they're still trying to learn how to work together. So we'll see. But yeah, that was it for me. Wide receiver 2 and 3, and then the OC, I think.
Gotta say this, right? The how many years that we've been doing this podcast, and I can't say how many times I've said in week 1, 6 p.m. UK time, the Jets is must-watch TV, mate. Jets Steelers, all right, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. UK. That is great scheduling, by the way. I would love the Jets to beat the Steelers and get off to a real positive start that game. That actually feels quite a pivotal game because they've got Buffalo, Tampa Bay, like the following. Obviously, it's a tough start. They got the toughest start in the division, so you kind of don't want to fall behind the 8 ball, do you? If you are the Jets in kind of a young rebuild. So, yeah, great game to begin that. I've got to tune in.
Bit of revenge there for Fields and for Rodgers on who wins.
Exactly, yeah.
And obviously there was that weird story, which I'm not sure what's true and what's not, about the whole they made Aaron Rodgers come into the building rather than just phone him to say they were getting rid of him. They made him fly all the way there, and he got there, and Aaron Glenn went, "You're not part of our plans." Aaron Glenn said that kind of wasn't the truth, but Rodgers said it was. So I think there might be some beef between those two men. Aaron Glenn strikes me as a combative person, which is quite fun. So yeah, that will be a good week 1. We're well, you'll be in America, but I imagine that must be up for pick for Sky Sports. Surely, I don't know what the other 6 o'clock games are. I know you've been moaning that week 1's too good, but
off the top of my head, Atlanta and Tampa Bay probably feels like. But Channel 5 in the UK now are going to have live games at 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. So it's going to be spread around, isn't it? So I'd be shocked if the Jets and Steelers wasn't one of the games picked.
Yeah, it's funny that they're sharing them. But yeah, that's good. Yeah, that works out. I don't know who's commentating on Channel 5. Probably that Michael Carlson guy, maybe, and
yeah, he's been around
Jason
US
Bell, maybe. People like that. But yeah, we'll see. Cool. Jets win total then 5.5. Where are you going?
I'm going over.
Me too. I've gone over. We're well lockstead in this division. We're Jets believers, which I like. Which has not normally gone well in the past, being a Jets believer, but this year, we're going to try and fight that. Cool. Last but not least, then the New England Patriots are our next team. Another summer of massive churn for them. On offense, they added Stephon Diggs after his boating escapades. Matt Collins, the most annoying man in the NFL. They added Garrett Bradbury, ex-Vikings center, who's going to start for them, and then Morgan Moses as well. In the draft, on offense, they added Will Campbell, and they actually added a 3rd rounder, Jared Wilson, who will probably start for them at left guard. And then Travion Henderson, who's been the talk of preseason, by the way. He's absolutely electric. On defense, they spent some money. So Milton Williams from the Eagles, Robert Spillane, Patrick's favorite defender. Harold Landry got a crazy contract that no one saw coming. Obviously, Mike very well knows him well. Carlton Davis got a big deal to come over from Detroit, and then Josh Farmer in the draft as well. Looks like he's going to start for them on defense potentially. I mentioned Vrabel, but that's the big change in the coaching staff. So he's the new head coach. Josh McDaniel comes back as the OC, which is hilarious. And then Terrell Williams is the DC. He's been around for years. Had a bit of a health scare this summer, but he's around now and coaching again on the defensive side of the ball. He was the defensive line and run game coordinator defensively for the Lions last year, and now is a defensive coach. So, defensive coordinator for them. Their strength of schedule is the 2nd easiest in the NFL, easiest in the AFC, and their win total is 7.5, which probably people think is high, but some of that is definitely the schedule. They feel similar to the Jets, mate, in terms of a bit of a culture change, fresh start. I know they've obviously think they've got the QB, and I think they've got the QB of the future, so it's different. But they're in that key moment of a rebuild where everything's fresh, and it feels like there's some more optimism around the Patriots compared to the Mayo year of last year.
Yeah, and especially then because the Jared Mayo year felt like a continuation of Bill Belichick's last year as well. It didn't feel like they've had that separation. It was only when Drake May came in, right, that it felt like, okay, this is actually a new era. So yeah, I'm very optimistic about New England. This is a fun division, actually. It's not been that fun the last few years, and this feels like couple more upstart teams, even though it feels crazy to call the Patriots an upstart team after winning God knows how many Super Bowls. But yeah, feel really
Well done.
optimistic about New England. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm optimistic as well. It was an interesting off-season. We're not doing general news, by the way, but live news is that the 49ers just traded for, not for Micah Parsons, don't worry. They traded for Brian Robinson Jr. from the Commanders. So a bit of a live.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a good move for them. With everyone on offense seems to be injured, so it gives CMC a bit of a relief, which is interesting. But back to the Patriots. Reasons to believe in them then. We just spoke about optimism. I do really like Mike Vrabel as a coach. I don't think he's the best head coach, but he has actually done a really good job. This year's a bit different because I think Kraft probably picked the offensive coordinator, but he hired Arthur Smith. He hired forgot his name now. Literally the head coach of the Packers that I'm blanking on.
LaFleur.
Mike, yeah, that's it. Matt LaFleur, he hired him, and he hired Dave Canales as well for a role as a OC, well, not for an OC, but as a quarterback coach. So he's got a good record on finding other coaches to do well. And I think Terrell Williams on defense might be that guy. But yeah, he's a culture changer. His teams always play well. Me and you always loved the Titans defense when he was their head coach. They always played better than probably the ability on paper. So I think he's a big addition. And they've just added, again, is the roster great? Maybe it's not great, but they definitely added a lot of talent. And some of the deals like Harold Landry is a bit, maybe they shouldn't have gone that aggressive. But, Diggs, I think Moses, Milton Williams, Spillane, Carlton Davis, Kayvon Chason. These are players that are better than the players they had last year. And they get Christian Barmore back, who was a really, really good player 2 years ago. So I think, again, the depth is not there, but the top end talent on both sides of the ball, I think, is better for the Patriots.
Yeah, do you know what I think? Since we've been doing the podcast, if we take head coach and one side of the roster, I think this is one of the biggest single season improvements that we'll have seen doing the pod in terms of switching from Jared Mayo to Mike Vrabel and then adding in all those kind of free agent, real solid NFL free agents. Only Milton Williams feels like he's young enough that he can still improve. You know what I mean in terms of that? And, I do love Robert Spillane as well. But combining that with what they've already got, by the way, Christian Gonzalez, someone we never really talk about. He is an excellent cornerback. But combining that, I feel like in one off season, they've really, really improved, especially that side of the ball. And they'll be a lot more disciplined, I think, on that side. And like you said, the second easiest schedule in the NFL, combining that with what you hope is Drake May's continued progression, right? It feels pretty optimistic.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to end my notes off was on two players really. And Trayvon Henderson is one. Like he just looks credible. Like preseason is preseason, but he's got punt return touchdowns. He's got long runs. He's got big catches. Obviously, they do a lot of joint practices, and he's had 260-yard touchdowns in joint practices when they're allowed to tackle. Obviously, and it feels like he could be again. Have they done enough at the weapons on wide receiver? Probably not. But adding him as the running back and then Diggs as the wide receiver one, that will be enough to turn, to get Drake May some weapons. And I think the run game could be really good. And then Drake May himself is the other reason. I thought he was much closer to Jaden Daniels last year than he was to Caleb Williams in terms of performance. And I think he generally could be in one of the next guys. Like I think he is that good. And his talent was awful last year. Offensive line was the worst in the league. The weapons were the worst. The head coach was one of the worst. Offensive coordinator was one of the worst. They changed that 3 times, play caller wise. So for me, I just think Trayvon Henderson is the spark, that Jahmyr Gibbs spark. and then another year of Drake May getting better with some more weapons and a little bit of help on the line. I think, yeah, they're really, really exciting. I think Drake May will be good this year.
Oh, I agree about Henderson. I know what you said about like, oh yeah, it's pre-season, it's training camp, it's this or whatever. When you're electric, right? And you're taking kicks back or you're bursting out 60-yard runs. Let me tell you, every single team wants that. And as a fan, you want to see that, right, in the NFL. So it's great to see that that's going to be there. But Will Campbell at left tackle as well. You got your left tackle and your quarterback so early in a rebuild. It just, it feels good. I can't wait to see Drake May actually this season. Like I said the other week, the second-year quarterbacks for me feels such a big story. Maybe because this year's rookies is kind of a non-starter. So, but can't wait to see Drake May out there. Easy schedule. Does that bring kind of a little bit more pressure for him? It's kind of unforgiving, isn't it, really? In terms of like the media, it's if you're starting with Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Detroit, it's okay, you're 0-4. We're getting incremental gains. Make the start with the Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, and Panthers. You want to win some football games and you want Drake May to look good, don't you? So it's kind of like those expectations are kind of changed straight away, don't they?
Yeah, and I had 2 press conferences this summer where Drake May himself, and then the other one was Vrabel himself, but calming down the comparisons to Josh Allen, which is the quarterback that he gets because of his size, his arm strength, his maybe less than stellar play in college, but his big plays in college that were really good. So I find it good as well. The head coach is kind of like, we love Drake, but he's not Josh Allen. And it's just like I like the fact they're keeping that expectations down on him. Whereas I feel like if that was a year ago, Mayo would be like, he's the greatest quarterback in the world, and you're like, come on, let's chill out a little bit, or he'd just start Jacoby Brissett and be like, Drake May's not ready, and you're like, why are you starting Jacoby Brissett? It was all over the place, but yeah, I really like Drake May. Let's go into reasons not to believe. Then you've actually kind of accidentally segued me in because I was going to start with Will Campbell. Now, reports out of camp are the line isn't good, and he maybe in pass protection does not look like a left tackle, maybe look more like a left guard. Now, it's very, very early. We both liked him coming out, but he does have short arms, so he is a bit more of a guard. Then the right tackle position has been a bit of a disaster. So I think on offense, again, if Diggs doesn't stay healthy and the line doesn't incremental gains, it's not going to be great on week 1. But by week 10, if they're fine, I'll be happy. But if not, I'd be a bit worried because you don't want another year of Drake May just get an absolute nail because, he was hit every week non-stop, it felt like, last season.
Yeah, it is the big word. I mean, it's a massive red flag, isn't it, when we're going to talk in a minute about kind of our division structure and who's making the playoffs. Whilst there is optimism, huge optimism around this team, it feels like that red flag it's the biggest that you can have on offense, isn't it? Aside from having a terrible quarterback, having bad tackles is just the worst thing you could have because obviously you don't want to get your star, who you think is a star, to be hurt, right? So it feels like a big red flag. And we're going to find out, right? I'm sure Max Crosby is going to test that week 1. We're going to kind of know, aren't we, straight away?
Yeah, and on paper it should be, all right. You got Morgan Moses, you got Mike Onwenu, you got Will Campbell, and you got Garrett Bradbury. But Bradbury didn't play well last year, and he's the one that's struggling. Morgan Moses didn't play great last year. He's up and down in camp. And then Will Campbell has been good in the run game, apparently, but not good in the pass game. So, yeah, we'll see. I think they can grow into it, but it's just a bit of a concern. We didn't mention Carl Williams, by the way, but that's the other receiver that could do a little bit for them on offense, for sure. A reason not to believe in them, or one that I'm unsure of, I want to get your opinion on, because we both like this player when he signed that big deal, was Kyle Duggar in the last week has been mentioned as a trade candidate because apparently less snaps and maybe he's not going to stick around and maybe he's not going to play. Now that surprises me. I thought Kyle Duggar was an elite player. We loved him when he signed that deal. He's now like safety 5 for them on the depth chart. It feels like they've got Jalen Hawkins and Jabril Peppers who are playing over him. I think that's a bit of a weird one because I think he's a good player. I don't know what's happened there. That's a worry for me. So I think if he was starting over Peppers, I'd be like, yeah, this defense is great. But I don't think the safeties look that good on paper. And then you've got a guy who I thought was really good, just sat on the bench.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I don't want to sound like you at any time when there's like a wide receiver available. But however, Philadelphia are in the market for a safety. I just want to put that out there and have a lot of draft capital. And I would be over the moon for that because, there's a need there. But yeah, really strange to see him so far buried on the depth chart, right? He's just not going to get on the field, is he? So it seems like that's going to be a definite.
Yeah, Vikings are a team that gets muted, but we'll see if that happens. You telling me that I want elite wide receivers instead of Sky Moore for my quarterback? That's a surprise. Any other reasons to not believe in them? I think Josh McDaniel could go either way. I think that's probably fair. He could be a reason to believe or not to believe, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'd probably go wide receiver 1. Diggs is. He's not the Stephon Diggs of even 2 years ago, is he? He's obviously has an interesting life outside of the season. But yeah, just for me, I would worry about that. I think I've said it before, by the way. I can't stand Matt Collins either. Just wish he'd put some
I'm
trainers
completely done on him now. You see the fact he cuts his bib into.
No, I'm not having that either. That's just for attention that he was cutting his bib. I saw that.
Yeah, I'm not having him either. I know it sounds we're a bit 1950s white England there.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, he is a bit all over the shop. But you're right, by the way, to call out Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez and Carlton Davis on either side of the ball is going to be really good. But yeah, they could have done a bit more on in the wide receiver room to help Drake out, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Under over then 7.5. Where you going for the Pats?
Over.
Boring as it is, we're all the same on this division. I'm also over 7.5. I love Drake May. Drake May is going to be my new Justin Herbert, my new crush as the next best thing in the NFL behind the big 4 quarterbacks. But yeah, I'll go over as well for them.
And it just happens to be in the AFC also.
Very true. They're always in the AFC. It's like Jake Daniels is the only one unless Caleb becomes good. But yeah, Cam Ward, another one. It's just like non-stop in the AFC. Cool. Let's finish off then with division order and then how many playoff teams we think we're going to get. So division order. I don't know who went first last time. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. Are we going fourth or are we going the winner first?
Let's go winner because this one's a bit more obvious, I think, isn't it?
Go the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be close to the 1 seed. And before we do our predictions pod, I'm going to have to kind of work out that from the schedule. But it feels like they've got as good a chance as anyone.
Yeah, me too. They're one of the easier ones. The pod I recorded today with Lee was every year there's 5 or 6 playoff teams that fall out normally and 5 or 6 that get in. And at the start, we quickly mentioned the ones that we didn't even consider. And like Bills were actually our number 1 because of the schedule, the division.
Yeah.
It just feels like they're locked for the playoffs unless Josh gets hurt. So yeah, I'm with you on the Bills. Who's your team that have you got second in the division? And de facto has to be a playoff team unless you're changing your previous predictions.
The playoff team, the 7th seed, maybe going to Kansas City in the playoffs, the 2 seed. I'm going to Patriots. I think the turnover on defense and the head coach is going to be enough with that schedule with Drake May's development. I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to improve. Well, you always see with the best quarterbacks, right? Like Allen has done in Buffalo, you improve the players around you. So it's just,
yeah. We spend too much time together. It's the team I picked this morning and the team I picked on this episode. New England Patriots second. And I also said earlier they'd be the 7th seed. So I'm with you there. I feel like if a team gets in with 11, I weirdly feel like if it takes 11 wins to get in, I don't think it'll be them, if I'm honest. No. I think there'll be some Broncos or someone that I've misjudged that will win loads of games. But if it's a 10 win like it was last year, I think the Patriots will sneak in with their schedule and maybe some of the better teams, Chargers, Broncos, Texans, whoever, they all beat each other. Whereas the Patriots have got a good schedule. So yeah, I'm with you on the Pats. Who's your team in third place? Are we going to go full house?
The New York Jets with Aaron Glenn.
Bingo. We have gone full house, which officially means the Patriots are maybe the team of the pod so far, because that's probably our biggest surprise. We'll see after next week who our team of the pod is. But the Dolphins are definitely our not our team of the pod because we're both way against the Dolphins, finishing in 4th place. I think if this happens, I think we'll see a fresh start in Miami next year.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a lot of big spots up for grabs in terms of quarterback, head coach, and GM. So,
yeah, 100%. And then playoff teams, are we sticking with 2 each, or are you going to change your previous pod's predictions?
No, I'm not. I feel comfortable. I got Denver as my 6th seed. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and I've got the Texans as my 6th seed. And I feel happy about that. But yeah, I'm going 2 and going with the Patriots as the 7 seed in the AFC. And then just to confirm, we've actually got the same win total for each team. So both gone Bills over 11.5, Dolphins under 8.5, Jets over 5.5, and Patriots over 7.5. So yeah, it should be a fun division if we're right on this. And that is it for the AFC East. We have one preview to go. Episode 300 is the NFC East, where we're going to talk about the Super Bowl champs. We could have 3 playoff teams in real life from that division. So we'll see when we talk about that next week. Remember to go follow us at Go42Pod on Twitter/X. Please go back and listen to our episode with Lee as well, talking about playoff teams. It was good to get a third person's opinions on some of these teams. And then follow Patrick as well at Mugs NFL. We still got a week, I think, where people can order stuff before you go away and fund your habit of NHL jerseys or baseball games or whatever it is we've got.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the Baltimore Orioles and the Dodgers. The ticket was like £15, by the way, but I found out that you can buy like a game used ball for like $30, and I feel that just seems a little bit risky. Could be anything. Could be Ohtani from the Dodgers from the previous day, something. But I'm sure I'm going to dabble in at least one of those.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you get. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back next time to do NFC East. And then the last episode then before our week 1 preview will be a bit of a bumper predictions episode where we predict a lot of the same stuff we had before, and then we'll see if we can throw any more fun, any new ones in. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we will speak to you guys soon.
We'll speak to you soon, everyone.